There we go.
Yeah,
All
we did it. We did
righty.
it.
You made it. Oh, guys, we are blessed to have Michael with us this evening to share his thoughts on what's going on in the markets, what's happening with finance, and even what that means for things like crypto. And for us, inflation, it means some scary things if we're leaning on just savings. And so, yeah, Mike's been in the industry for 20 plus years, pro trader, global educator, and obviously he's adding a whole lot of momentum to our team and what we're up to. So Mike, I'm going to make you the host, and I'd just love to give you the floor to share your thoughts on what's going on right now and how we can all best set ourselves up really moving forward and yeah, and take it from there.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Ty. Yeah, look, it's really a crazy time, and in the last couple of years, everything's really sort of been coming to a head, and for a lot of this generation, it's sort of been a space that we haven't been in before. And when you start looking at some of the facts that have been flying around, it's really quite interesting. So for me, I've been in the finance space for about 20 years. And like you say, worked for a couple of banks. These days, I'm doing portfolio advising, I'm doing managed funds and trading, investing other people's money and my own money as well, and also educating. And so it's really important just to have a good understanding of what's going on in the world, because it does impact everything that you do with your money. And the reason that we have jobs, mostly apart from utilizing our gifts, is to get money to live. But the problem now is that most people tell you to save your money and put it in the bank. But with the inflation issue that's happening right now, your money's losing half its value in 6 years. So really, the problem with inflation is that it erodes your savings. But then for Kiwis, what do you do? Because normally real estate is one of the main ways that we've been building our wealth upon. And with inflation, real estate's great. But the problem is, a lot of us, well, a lot of Kiwis can't even afford a house because house prices are too high because of inflation. So it's sort of like, what do you do? And really, what we're looking at is the consequences of COVID. And that's really exacerbated the situation. And the reason for that is that, we had whole countries locking down for months on end, and, massive lack in productivity, massive lack of people actually buying. So, for example, here in New Zealand, once the first outbreak of COVID washed over, everyone went out and bought a boat. And where I live in Taupo, you couldn't buy any more boats because people were just spending because they hadn't spent for so long. So what happens is that there's been this huge wave of spending. And then after the spending, economic activity increases. And then after that, you get an inadequate supply of products. So now there's not enough goods. Not only that, but also with the COVID problem, we've had this massive supply chain disturbance. So, it's so difficult to get goods through different countries, through different channels. Just recently, the biggest Chinese port is shut down. And, most of our goods come from China. Most of the goods in the States come from China. So what you've got is you've got a lot of economic activity. You've now got a lot of less products people can buy. And so if there's less of something, prices go up. Not only that, but now we've got a war in Europe. And, unfortunately, Russia provides most of the oil to Europe. And so they've really got a stranglehold on the entire continent. And so the price of oil has shot up. And that's why we're all suffering at the pump because, in some places it's $3.40, $3.50 until this week. And the problem with that is that, Russia is planning on moving away from the US dollar and pricing their oil in gold. If that happens, oil could go to $300 a barrel. So effectively, we could be paying like $4 possibly with petrol. So you've really got this confluence of everything happening where you've got coming out of COVID, you've got supply chain disturbances, which means, there's hardly anything left on the shelves. When I went to the supermarket yesterday, they were completely sold out of pasta, completely sold out of rice, and every week we're sold out of other products. So if there's a shortage in products, then all the prices go up because they're scarce, they're rare. So not only that, but again, the oil problem is huge because we can't get to work unless we travel. So all of these things have pushed the prices of everything up. Now, what that means is what are you going to do with your money? You've got two options for most people. One is keep it at home or put it in the bank and it becomes worthless. So that's really the problem, Ty, is that inflation destroys the power of your savings. So if people don't spend, normally they put their money in the bank, right? Okay, save it for a rainy day. But at the moment, inflation is like almost 6%. Now, what happens then is that to combat inflation, the government decides to raise interest rates. So now, if you've got any sort of debt, you've now got to pay back even more of that debt because the interest rates go up. So not only are you paying back more of your debt if you're not fixed, or if you've got an overdraft, you've now got even less money to spend, and that money is decreasing every single day. So let's say that you have $1,000 in your savings account. Within a year, 6% of that is gone. In five years, 30% of that $1,000 is gone. So what happens is that you are effectively paying a higher price to buy less things. So why work? I mean, what do you do with your money? So this is really the problem that we have right now.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. I mean, yeah, I'm sure everyone on this call's in a different financial position and different stage of life, but I definitely didn't learn this stuff in high school. I remember vaguely being aware of the term inflation, but it obviously means a whole lot more as you get older and you start to think about how am I setting myself, my family up. And so, yeah, man, just so grateful for your insights and your experience. And I know like we're sitting in this, what feels like a crazy moment. It feels like obviously 1 year to the next. It's like, we're praying for the end of 2020, and 2021 wasn't a whole whackload better for some people, but it's recognizing, I believe in the midst of all the obstacles that God's got an opportunity for us. And so in the midst of that, I believe like most of us here, we're all in different spaces and places, but I believe that God's got a plan for each and every one of us. And so in light of that, I asked the question of, how can we best position ourselves moving forward? Like, what are the options? Like in the midst of everything that you're aware of, like I've spent the last 9 months diving deep into the world of cryptocurrency and what that's doing. And I know you're already really well versed in that too. And there's all these different traditional options where people would put their finance. At the same time, we're in the middle of, what feels like a massive reset of things globally. And there's a lot of big players and some real powerful people with a scary button with their finger that they could push. But I still believe that better days are ahead for us. And we'd love to just hear your thoughts on what the options are and what they have been historically, but more and looking forward, where you think things are headed and what, and nothing's going to be set in stone here, but I believe you've got some really great insights into some of that stuff. So yeah, what would you say is worth looking into in the season, really, for us to each be empowered to do our own research?
Yeah, well, in the past, when there's been any sort of crisis, typically the people who have debt, you could say the lower and middle class of society, they suffer the most. And unfortunately, times of crisis are simply a time of wealth transfer, where all of the wealth is actually taken from the lower and middle class and taken to the upper class. It's basically a redistribution of wealth. However, this time's different because the financial situation of the world is changing. There's new options available for the normal person. In the past, most people needed, a really in-depth, comprehensive education to even access the markets, and it was quite difficult to access the markets. A lot of people didn't have the understanding of what to do. But now cryptocurrency has really leveled the playing field for everyone, because now you don't need $1 million to start investing. You don't have to put down a deposit of $100,000 to get into the real estate game. Now you can buy very, very easily. There's very, very clear, simple access into the cryptocurrency market. And this is a market where you can invest very little. You can invest as little as $5 with the potential of significant gains simply because it's a brand new asset class. So unfortunately, there's been a lot of negative stereotypes around cryptocurrency. But at the moment, every single bank in the world is spending tens of billions of dollars setting up platforms for their customers and themselves to invest in cryptocurrency. So I've been in this space for 5 years and I've watched it unfold. When it started, all the banks were against it because they saw it threatening their opportunity to get interest from their customers. now they've realized that because it's a decentralized system, that's worth a lot of money to them. So the banks are seeing as the future. And again, in the past, we've only had a few basic asset class. We've had real estate as an asset class, we've had stocks and bonds, we've had commodities, and we've had cash. Now with cryptocurrency, it's the first new asset class in 200 years. So what that means is that every bank, every hedge fund, every financial institution, every pension fund, every superannuation fund in the world is going to be putting a minimum of 5% of all of their assets into crypto in the next 10 years. So if you do the numbers, it turns out to be in the trillions of dollars. So right now, it's a market that has just begun to start. There's a little bit of global awareness that's happening, but the beauty of it is that you don't need a lot of money to start. And so it's the only way to consistently beat the inflation that's happening in the market right now, because stocks are at an all-time high. There's no way you'd ever buy stocks now, not with the war happening in Europe. Maybe gold, but even if gold doubles, you only make 100%. But with crypto, the possibilities are almost endless. And that's because this is an industry that's in its infancy. It's brand new. It's just been born. It's just starting to find its legs. It's just starting to find its gurgle, as it were, and it's just started to take off. So for me, I really believe that God provides opportunities in every crisis. And if we've got eyes to see, and if we can understand what's going on, there is an incredible opportunity to outperform the inflation that's eroding your savings. And so I've been investing in crypto for the past 5 years, and the gains you make are incomparable to the rest of the market right now, simply because it's a brand new asset class. So that's what I'm focused on, and it gives the normal person hope. A lot of people are hopeless in the sense of, I don't know how I can ever get into the real estate market. I don't know how I can ever own my own home. I don't know how I can ever do anything with my money. But now there's a way to make your money work for you, rather than you just trying to work for your money and putting it into a bag with holes in it. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And so this is an opportunity to actually take those savings and do something with it, if you know how to do it the correct way.
Man, love it. So much gold in there, man. Thank you. It's been radically eye-opening for me. And I remember it might have actually been about almost a year ago when I remember sitting down for lunch with you in the cafe at church and just picking your brain a little bit about this while I was just starting to get into the space. And I remember hearing about it over the years, but it just wasn't the right time for me to start really getting into it deeply. And this last year has just been unreal. Like, in terms of just learning. I mean, I know some people on this call, you probably haven't got a clue about crypto, and some people on the call probably half the experts as well. So we're all in different spaces, but wherever you're at, like, Michael and myself, our hardest to help as many people understand this and participate in what we believe is going to be the largest transfers of wealth that our generation ever sees. And so if it's something you want to look into more, let us know. I mean, I've got all sorts of resources and videos that can kind of get you started in that space and understanding it, and all sorts of like bullet points on, if you want to buy some, make sure you've got these safety protocols in place, because there's enough horror stories out there of people getting hacked and scammed. Wherever there's money, you're going to find scammers and bad actors who are going to show up and try to rip people off. And so don't trust the person randomly emailing you to begin with. You've got some, I mean, I can recognize most of the names in this chat right here. So you're all smart people, but whatever you have, some of you guys might have questions. Some of you guys already might be in the space, but it's everything, like you said, like, it just takes some big players putting 5% in to blow the roof off where it is right now in comparison to the amount of money that is floating around in the financial markets. I mean, the crypto market cap somewhere around just over $1 trillion. I've seen it at 3, and we've had a pullback, which is normal and natural. But for where it's going, I've heard it said that, I think it was Kevin O'Leary, he's one of the famous Dragon Den guys. He was on doing an interview, and he said, there is trillions of dollars, just like you said, waiting to fly into crypto. And they're just waiting for the tax laws, and they're waiting for clarity, because those massive funds need to know what the tax ramifications are. And so for those of you who don't know, there's a lawsuit that's been going on with a company called Ripple and XRP and what the SEC. And basically that's looking to conclude pretty soon. And when that concludes, we're going to have some of that clarity for regulation. And regulation is actually good. Regulation will bring that clarity. Clarity is going to bring that confidence. Confidence is going to bring those trillions of dollars worth of funds. And so where that money flies into something, the more you understand this, obviously it's going to boost the price up. And so if you're able to get in ahead of some of those big amounts of money flying in, you're in early. You've been able to buy something at a certain price. I know, I mean, you know, Mike, if you've been in this for 5 years, obviously your portfolio is looking wonderful, because you look backwards, anybody who invested more than 2 to 3 years ago is smiling. And if you invested 6 months ago, you might be crying because of, you know, the state of where prices were at in November and where they are now. But when you understand the cycles and when you're empowered and you know what's happening and how it all works, it actually becomes this beautiful opportunity, like you said. And so, you know, we didn't want to take too much time, everyone, tonight. I wasted enough fooling around with Zoom and, I mean, with Facebook Live. But yeah, we just want to start the conversation for some of our friends and family, just to like bring some awareness to the space and what's possible, because, you know, I'm just so grateful for someone actually sitting down with me and helping me understand the initial part of it. And then from there, you know, I went completely off the cliff and been investing in my education and learning about it properly, because I believe God wants to not just set what I want for myself, I want for everyone. I believe God wants to set us up, and he wants to empower us to really begin to thrive in the future, despite what it might look like with things like inflation and interest rates and so on. And so if you're interested to take the conversation further, by all means, reach out to Mike or myself. We're happy to answer questions and help out. Inside of Zoom might be a bit tricky, but by all means, hit us up on Facebook Messenger. And yeah, we'd love to keep that conversation flowing. I don't know, Mike, have you got any final thoughts or anything else in the back of your mind that might be sparking? Otherwise, yeah, wanted to keep it brief tonight and rather just maybe even have another one in a week or two. And if you guys are getting value from it, let us know. But yeah, any other thoughts in your mind in this space at the moment? What's happening?
Yeah, there is one more. And that's, you know, when we go back to the 90s and we had the introduction of the internet, that was the most revolutionary technology in the history of the world in the 90s with the dot-com era. And so at that time, the internet was growing at about 63% a year. So that was the adoption, 63% a year. So at the same time in the cycle, crypto is growing at 120% a year. So the crypto space is growing at double the rate of the internet. And so when you extrapolate those numbers out, in 4 years, 1 billion people will be into crypto. Now, at the moment, it's something like 150 million people in the world. So times that by 10 in about 4 years, and you can get a picture of how far this market has to go. So that gives you a context of where we are and what we're looking forward to in the next 5 to 10 years.
That's amazing, man. Like there's so much opportunity in this space. And yeah, I mean, I hear story after story just with, you know, the educators that we're plugged into of, you know, people throughout third world countries, all throughout Asia, that are able to actually quit their day jobs because they're earning more money playing crypto-based games, which is crazy. Like some early games like Axie Infinity and things that are still so early in that space, but they're providing opportunity for these people to actually earn more than their average wage in their nation. And so there's just, I mean, there's some projects out there, guys, that are like, they're out there to solve world poverty. Like, and it's when you start investigating all these different companies and what they're doing, it's easy to think that it's all just a coin in a different currency, but there's multiple different types of cryptos and they're all out there to solve different problems, and they're companies with use case. And so, yeah, when you start investigating that and you figure out how it's all put together, it's an amazing space. And yeah, man, Mike, thanks so much for your time this evening. Guys, thank you so much for turning up and for persevering and flicking over into Zoom. But yeah, wanted to keep tonight brief. We're segueing over. We've got a trading call with a team of guys that we trade with now. So we're moving over into that space, which is a lot of fun, where Mike's educating us and helping us along there. But yeah, just want to say again, massive thank you to all of you friends and family jumping on here with us. I'll probably put this all together as a recording for those who missed it. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. Mike, I believe you are the host, so it's probably up to you to end the thing. But all right, yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Ty. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a great night. And again, reach out if you have any questions or if you're interested. And we'd love to help you more any way we can. So thanks very much for joining. Have an amazing evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
All right.
Goodbye.
See you later.